For one long weekend in February, Grand Lake was the very center of the angling world. Countless eyes were focused on its 46,500 acres of water as it played host to the prestigious 2013 Bassmaster Classic and the 53 professional fishermen who came from all over the country to cast a line into Oklahoma's premier water destination. And the people most familiar with the waters of Grand Lake were probably not surprised when they first heard it would play host. After all, along with its reputation for boating, skiing, and sailing, the lake has always been known as a pretty good fishing spot too.
The thing about Grand to me is it's a lake that I've fished for 20 plus years. I would never consider it my home lake. It's a lake that I just love to fish, so it's an awesome opportunity for me to come fish a lake that I come to with a lot of confidence and really fish an event kind of close to home with that comfort level as well.
Grand Lake was first created in 1940 when the Grand River Dam Authority finished construction of the Pensacola Dam, and even before the paint was dry on the walls of the dam's powerhouse, the lake was already drawing visitors to its shores. Through the years, its reputation has only grown. Today, Grand Lake is a foundation for a thriving recreation and tourism industry, not only in Oklahoma, but across the four-state region. Playing host to the Bassmaster Classic added to that foundation and helped firm it up for future events that bring visitors and dollars to the shores of GRDA's Grand Lake.
You're standing on a site that 18 months ago was one small boat ramp, one small dock, no parking to speak of, that now has hosted the biggest bass tournament in the world and came off shining like a diamond. It was just extremely well done. We were on national TV with so much exposure and so many good comments, and Grand Lake of the Cherokee's named time and time and time after again, that it's just a blessing. It's a blessing to the entire lake.
That's probably one of the most exciting things for me to see happen here on Grand Lake is the new facility. I mean, this lake has had places that tournaments could sufficiently go out of, but nothing like what you've got now. When you've got the facility to handle any size tournament that any organization can throw at this lake, it's awesome. And listening to the GRDA and Brent and how they're going to control the release of fish and everything from that facility, I think that even makes what's going on here at Grand Lake even more exciting than we've ever seen.
However, while the lake is the anchor for such events, a great deal of planning and cooperation goes into making it happen.
You would not believe the compliments that we got from the fishermen. One specifically that I remember was actually a spectator from Minnesota, and they came from all over the country. I stood next to him one day and he said, "Did you have something to do with this?" And I said, "A little bit." And I said, "Did you enjoy it?" And he said, "I've got to tell you, I live in the land of 10,000 lakes. We fish like crazy." He said, "There's not a facility in Minnesota that even comes close." And he said, "Congratulations to all you folks here on Grand Lake for creating that." You know, and I had numerous encounters like that. Mayor Marty Follis from Grove had numerous encounters. He's got a great letter from one of the fishermen, you know, that compliments the facility and everything the city of Grove did to make this happen. And I guess it's just so neat and unique that so many different entities came together and worked together to create this thing in such a record amount of time. You know, it was just wonderful.
During such an event, there is a lot going on and a lot to see. Early morning launches, late afternoon weigh-ins, anglers in action on the water, and more activities and pageantry that go hand in hand with the sport's biggest moments. For many of those moments, as well as their preparations leading up to them, the GRDA, its employees, and several other organizations played an important role and were vital to that effort.
It's the start of many, many events to come. You know, it was really exciting to see the U.S. Department of Wildlife, you know, the Oklahoma Department of Conservation, the Oklahoma Department of Transportation, the City of Grove, GRDA, and you know, the Oklahoma Department of Tourism all come together, pool their money to make this state-of-the-art facility that's going to hold many tournaments to come, national tournaments, you know, local tournaments, big championships. You know, it's going to bring people all across the world to come to this state-of-the-art facility. It's going to protect our fish. There's going to be plenty of parking. There's going to be all the things that you need to hold these big events. You know, it's really going to be exciting. It's going to be great for Northeast Oklahoma. Something I'm really excited about, just to be a part of this region and to see all this that's going to take place in the years to come.
The partnership amongst the Tulsa Sports Commission, the Tulsa Chamber, the agency involved like Oklahoma Department of Transportation, Oklahoma Wildlife, and specifically GRDA made this all happen. You know, without those people, those agencies, without our state government's buy-in, and quite simply, especially without the City of Grove and GRDA, this would have never become a reality. You know, we've got to thank people like former City Manager Bruce Johnson, who was very aggressive in helping this come to the Grove area and to the Grand Lake area. Lieutenant Governor Lamb, Director of Tourism Debbie Snodgrass, Director Ridley with ODOT, Gene Gilliland and the Oklahoma Wildlife. Those people bought in and made things happen in record time. And we so much appreciate what those folks and those agencies and what our state and what our governor allowed to happen here. One of the really surprising things about this particular tournament and this facility was the crowds that it drew on some really cold mornings. You know, we had crowds of 2,000 plus people out here, you know, all bundled up, cheering on their favorite fishermen. And it was so cool because I equated it to maybe a NASCAR type fan, because these guys would pull in their beautiful trucks that are all wrapped with advertising and pretty colors and their boats and all too. And these folks really enjoyed seeing those guys. And there was a camaraderie. And I've got to say, you have never, ever worked with a professional, especially a professional athlete, and believe me, these guys are, that are as kind and courteous and down to earth as these guys were. They treated their fans great. When the little ones would run up to them and ask for an autograph, they just did it immediately. No questions asked, you know, and just a fine bunch of people to work with. And BASS also, as an organization that runs the biggest bass federation, biggest bass tournaments in the country, unbelievable to work with. Very supportive, were very easy for us to work with, let us know what they needed, and in that way helped us to get this all accomplished in a record time.
For GRDA personnel, the work began with the planning, but also included construction before the event. GRDA's facilities management crew poured the concrete and constructed the new ramps at the Wolf Creek site. Though the work was done in the middle of winter, the Oklahoma weather cooperated. Today, the same ramps used during the Classic are permanently in place to enhance lake access for everyone. During the tournament launches and throughout the days of fishing, the GRDA Police Department helped direct lake traffic and provide a safe path for the competitors to move out of the launch site each morning. With many extra spectators on the water during the event, officers were also available to provide assistance and security as needed.
GRDA has really been a partner in this endeavor. And not only from the standpoint of they helped build some of the facility, but the way Brian Edwards' group worked with us on the lake. I have never seen the support of our patrolmen on the lake for a tournament or for an event, except for the Duck Creek fireworks, like I saw during this event. It was cold. Those poor guys were bundled up.
Meanwhile, GRDA Fisheries Coordinator Brent Davis was a key part of the tournament's operations. Davis answered questions, assisted fishermen and tournament staff, and made sure all GRDA rules for fishing tournaments were followed.
It was a big success, the Classic was. I don't know how many thousand people we had at Grove, but all the motels were full, the restaurants were full. I think they set record at the Grove Boat Show of people visiting the boat show. The process of bringing something, a major tournament like the Classic here is, there's a lot of work behind the scenes. Meetings, phone calls, early mornings and late nights, run-throughs of what's going to happen and how we're going to handle everything. My job at the Classic was everything from crowd control to valet parking. So we handled the fish, we brought them back and ensured that returned them all safely to Grand Lake, which is a big thing with GRDA. We want all of our fish returned back into the lake at every tournament. the highest possible survival rate that there is. We work very hard at it, and we've made tournament rules and regulations that require the tournament directors to do things to make it successful, our survival rates. And most of them are pretty good at it, but we still have to monitor them and work with them. And each tournament group has its own issues, and we work through those and make everything successful.
Display booths at both the Grove Boat Show and the Classic Expo in Tulsa were also opportunities for GRDA to be a part of the event. Over the course of the weekend, thousands of people passed by these booths, and GRDA had the chance to interact with Lake area stakeholders and first-time visitors to the region.
We specifically have to thank GRDA for their construction efforts, for the support, for the attaboys that we got from CEO Dan Sullivan, from Daryl Townsend, and I got to tell you, Brent Davis was just magnificent. You know, his help was you couldn't buy it. You couldn't buy it. GRDA was so instrumental in making this happen. And I specifically want to thank the board. You know, those people stepped up and said, yes, let's support this. Let's help out Grand Lake. Let's let this economic engine work. And it really, really has. And that support and just, you know, the feeling now that we have with GRDA, that they understand that Grand Lake is a driving force in the state of Oklahoma. We know GRDA is a power company, and that's what they're supposed to be. But this lake has now been understood, I think, by all of you folks on the board as being a driving force, you know, and it really is a big part of what GRDA is. And we thank you so much for helping us the way you did.
As part of its mission, GRDA is pledged to support economic and recreational development and to be a good steward of its lakes. During the Classic, GRDA employees met that mission. In his role, Davis is part of that every day, every time he works with anglers who bring their tournaments and their dollars to the GRDA Lakes region.
Since the Bassmasters Classic, we've had 3 major tournaments on Grand Lake. Nichols Marine, which was drawing the last 2 or 3 years somewhere between 240 and 260 boats, and they jumped to 296, I believe, last Sunday. And BFL drew about 80 boats on any given year at any tournament they had. They were up to 150. Skeeter Boats is another one of our big local tournaments. They were drawing about 160 boats, and they were up to 205. So the Classic has generated more interest in fishing, and all of our tournaments are going to be up number-wise, which in turn helps the local economy around the lake. Fills motels, restaurants, convenience stores, Walmart. They're always needing something at tackle stores. People's boats break down. They got to go to marinas to get them worked on. The numbers, the dollar amounts that tournaments bring in to Grand Lake is somewhere around $12 million a year, I believe. And that's a lot of money to a local economy like this.
As soon as we announced that the Classic was coming and that this facility was going to be built, almost immediately 4 events, and not all fishing tournaments, one is a boat race, booked with us to come to Grand Lake. And these are events that would not have come without this facility. You know, and that's just a tremendous economic boost to our area.
In summary, the Bassmaster Classic can be described as big. It was a big event for the region. Planning and preparation required a big effort from many groups, and GRDA was involved in a big way, helping to fulfill its economic development mission and maintaining its role as a good steward of the natural resources under its control.
This economic engine that we love and call Grand Lake of the Cherokees is all we really have in this region. It's what most of us make our living from. It's what a lot of us enjoy living around and fishing in and boating on. But to have this in addition to all that we already have just makes us so feasible in the United States. I mean, it will now become a destination.